So my plan is to deliver this message in two parts. The first part, titled, Who Was Jesus? An Anarchic Portrait. And the second part is an example of the first part. Now, here's the thing. If you really need to check a sports score from yesterday or make a buffet reservation for after service or surf the web to stay awake, then the first part of the service is the time to do that. When I get to the second part, I'll let you know, but then I want you to lean in, okay? Okay. So, picture, if you will, a figure born on the fringes of the mighty Roman Empire. A figure also who stood not outside the seats of power, not just outside the seats of power, but in radical defiance of them. So get that image in your mind. Jesus of Nazareth lived nearly 2,000 years ago, and in a land occupied by a mighty force and ruled by local authorities who demanded absolute obedience. Yet in the midst of this vast machinery of control, Jesus of Nazareth chose a different path, one that elevated mutual care over hierarchy and unflinching solidarity over fear. Jesus was not content merely to observe the rituals of his day. He questioned them, reimagining a world where no one's worth was measured by wealth or status, and where oppressive structures had no moral claim over the human spirit. His was a life in the tension between communal interdependence and the very harsh rule of empire. This tension he navigated by breaking bread with outcasts, challenging religious gatekeepers, and refusing to bow to the demands of political power. You don't hear about those parts of Jesus' life very much. Now, in a society built on rigid social strata, Jesus' friendships crossed every single boundary, from the respectable to the reviled. His was a table completely open to all, which was a bold act of defiance against the prevailing belief that some people mattered more than others. I just want to say for a second, Jesus sounds like a very good Unitarian Universalist. I'm just saying, that's all I'm saying. Okay, but for us, again, as Unitarian Universalists, this anarchic Jesus serves as a powerful reminder that the sacred, if it exists for us, does not reside in institutions or dominions, but in our capacity to live free from the bonds of fear, domination, and despair. His life invites us to question every unjust structure we see, to see beyond labels, and to discover that genuine authority arises from compassion rather than coercion. It is a call to create spaces where no one wields power over another, where love subverts oppressive systems, and where all can flourish in the spirit of a shared humanity. So finish up your reservations, because I'm about to do part 2. Good? Okay, part 2. An example. This is the important stuff. Not that the first part was important. Okay, in the 4th chapter of the book of Luke in the Christian New Testament, Jesus returns to Galilee, which is the northern part of Israel where he's from. And he is ablaze, and I use that term specifically. He is ablaze with conviction. And the news of his work spreads quickly throughout the surrounding countryside. Wherever he goes, teaching in synagogues, speaking in open spaces, people are following and they are listening. And here's a direct quote from the book of Luke. Quote, "One Sabbath, he went back to Nazareth, the village where he had grown up. As was his custom, he entered the synagogue and stood to read. The scroll of the prophet Isaiah from the Hebrew scriptures was handed to him, and he unrolled it until he found the passage he wanted." He really knew that scripture. It's very interesting. Anyway, with unyielding conviction, he read aloud, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because the Spirit of the Lord has anointed me to proclaim good news to the poor, to proclaim freedom for the prisoners and recovery of sight for the blind, to set the oppressed free, and to proclaim the year of favor." I'm going to read that one more time. This is still a quote. "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because the Spirit of the Lord has anointed me to proclaim good news to the poor, to proclaim freedom for the prisoners and recovery of sight for the blind, to set the oppressed free, to proclaim the year of favor. After finishing, he rolled the scroll back up, handed it to the attendant, and sat down. In that moment, every single eye in the synagogue was fixed on him. End quote. Okay. Jesus stood in the synagogue with all eyes on him and then explained to all the leaders there that this deep inner volcanic fire within his heart was what he called the Spirit of the Lord, and that this inner fire was calling him to act, and act he did in the world. Okay, now listen with me because I'm really about to get serious. Okay, so lean even further in. In this moment, Jesus stands up in the synagogue and allows this fire in his stomach to come out as words. We witness the essence of a spiritual practice that transcends religious tradition. Did you hear that? That transcends religious tradition, even this one. A practice grounded not in ritual alone, but in active commitment to justice, compassion, and radical hospitality. You cannot deny that that is what Jesus of Nazareth was about. Jesus' act of reading was not simply a recitation of ancient words, but a declaration that the sacred, whatever that is for you, calls us to stand with the marginalized and to challenge the forces that would keep us divided and oppressed. Now, do you see what I'm trying to say here? Jesus called the sacred the Spirit of the Lord. I call the sacred the causal mystery. I know that's weird. A good friend of mine calls the sacred the universe. Another friend of mine who holds no religious belief of any kind and is a strict materialist and doesn't believe in anything sacred and gets mad at me when I use that language, but in her most lucid theological moments, she says that even though she knows it's all just a process of the brain, she feels the fire nonetheless. And I say, it's still sacred for you, isn't it? And she didn't like that, but you can't deny it. So do you see? It doesn't matter what you call it because it's there. It doesn't matter where it came from because it's there. And Jesus of Nazareth was one of those people in history, one of the few that really did this, that could not help but be moved into action but by the sacred inner volcanic fire inside of him. You have it. Every single one of you have it. Whatever it is, the universe, the sacred, indigestion, your brain, God, whatever it is, you have it, and I have it, and your kids have it, and your family has it, and everyone has it. It's there. That fire you feel is it. That's it. If you disagree with me, find me during coffee hour, and let's talk about it. But wherever that is, just know that it is supposed to be there, and have the courage to follow it where it wants to lead you. Now, on this Palm Sunday, Jesus walked into the heart of Jerusalem 2,000 years ago, fully aware that his liberating vision ran completely against the grain of the Roman Empire. The people gathered, hearts alight with possibility, laying cloaks on the road and waving palm branches in a gesture of open-armed welcome, and then they killed him a few days later. It's here, right here, in this vivid scene, that we witness the essence of a spiritual path unconstrained by dogma. Jesus did not retreat from confrontation. He stepped forward, carrying with him the audacious claim that compassion could topple the edifice of fear. Even as betrayal loomed, he pressed on, believing that love, shared freely and fearlessly, was more powerful than the threat of violence. Now, may this story, very ancient yet so modern and new, may it embolden us to walk our own paths with the same unwavering courage, have the courage to follow it, to challenge every form of oppression and to cultivate communities where liberation is more than a sermon, but a living, breathing reality for all. Try this. I'll close with this. Try this. Read the book of Luke, chapter 4, verse 18, every day you wake up this week and right before you go to bed, just for the week. and see what happens in your heart. May it be so.